Hello and welcome into another episode here of Reality Check. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary. I am joined by my good friend Jeremy, aka Jets Chaos. Jeremy, how you doing?
I am okay. I am trying really hard to talk in a low voice because I don't have a voice. And I was told by a voice specialist to talk with a low voice coming from my stomach. And for those of you who are wondering why I lost my voice, it happened on Sunday with that block field goal. I kind of lost control.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder why. So let's go to it. I had the videotape replay of Jeremy's reaction to Will McDonald.
You have it right.
Block it. Somebody do something.
Come on.
He blocked it! He blocked it! He blocked it! He's got it with the ball! He's got it! He's got it! He's got it! He's got it! Touchdown! Touchdown! Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes! Yes! Holy shit! Oh my god! 5 double cheeseburgers I'm eating!
Holy shit!
Yeah, I wonder how someone lost their voice after that reaction, Jeremy.
Oh my god, I just lost control. I don't even remember that happening. Like the 5 double cheeseburger thing is hysterical because we always talk about eating a double cheeseburger. Like if McDonald's gets a sack, I'll eat one McDonald's double cheeseburger for every sack. So the fact that that just came out of me that I'll eat 5 of them because he blocked the field goal, it's just amazing.
Oh, so good. I had a very similar reaction. I said it on Talking Jets this week, but the weather was really nice. So I had like my front door open with the screen and all the windows open to get like some airflow going. And I jumped out off the couch and started yelling and screaming. And my neighbor, who's a Jets fan across the street, texted me. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened." And I was like, "Did I scare you? Sorry." But he's like, "No, I heard you celebrating. So I figured I'd shoot you a text."
The funny thing is Frankie was like, you see, he didn't even move because he's looking at the 1.5 minutes on the clock. And I knew as soon as it ended, I knew. Yeah, we're going to give up a field goal and lose the game. There was no question we were going to lose the game. I had no doubt. I mean, there was some hope, like maybe there'll be a lucky turnover, or, like remember against Cleveland, Ashton Davis got the interception, like something could happen. But I almost psychologically think that after 3.5 quarters of football, we just sat there stuck, streaming, miserable, right? The 3 of us were miserable. Green Bean is trying to be positive. We're trying to keep it together and not be too negative. We're totally miserable. And I felt like when that happened and I realized that we were going to take the lead even, I had to enjoy that moment because it was the only good moment of the entire day. And I said, you know what? I'll worry about the fact we're going to lose after. But right now, I'm just going to enjoy the moment. And, people who know me, if you've been watching, I think it's pretty obvious that Will McDonald is my favorite Jet right now. Like he's the guy I've been talking up forever and going, like excited about. So it would make sense that I would lose my shit because it was Will McDonald, who did it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it was an awesome moment too. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, I had that big reaction, and then they show Glenn running down on the sideline all excited. They line up, they kick the extra point. And then that's when, after they kick the extra point, that's when I start looking for the time, because you would have been, you're not a real fan, or you don't have a pulse if you can't get up in a moment like that. When something exciting happens, you got to have that reaction, even if in the back of our head, like everyone I talk to, myself, Green Bean, Ryan, a bunch of fans have said, yeah, once I realized how much time was left, you kind of knew the fate that this was going to go, that they were going to let up a field goal or a scoring drive right after that, which they did. But in the moment, how do you not go nuts for it? So I tip my cap to you.
Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, in that moment, I was thinking, like, if there was a way we won that game, I'm thinking Miami next week, 2-2, like, and all of a sudden everything is just so different. Not only 2-2, but 2-2 where, we lost to Pittsburgh because they caught, like, forgetting all the shit that went wrong for us, like the Gibson turnover, they kicked a 60-yard field goal. Like, you take away that 60-yard field goal, we win that game. That was such a winnable game. We beat Pittsburgh at every level in that game, right? Except for the turnover. Otherwise, there was there was so many ways we win that game. So when you look at the Pittsburgh game, and then if we would have held the lead against Tampa, like you beat Miami, now you're freaking 3-1. Like it changes everything, right? So in my mind, I was just thinking 2-2. Like we can win the game now, and we can be 2-2. And I'm not thinking playoffs. I'm not thinking Super Bowl, but I'm just looking for growth and improvement. And and I still have hope that if we beat Miami, we can get back, onto the track. And I have concerns, but at least for this year, at least get to the, get to that 7-8 win mark, just so we have something to build on.
Absolutely. Wanted to do a quick question from the chat before we get into our conversation. That's a good segue into our convo. But while we're just talking, realizing like our fate that, you had that amazing moment, but now, defense has to make a stop, and they haven't all day. Johnny Boy asks, Chaos and Matt, question, what's worse, being a Met fan or a Jet fan? Both incredibly tough is my answer.
Well, I mean, I'll say that at least the Mets gave me 1986. So as bad as it's been, they gave me 86. They gave me a Subway Series. We lost it, but at least they were in the World Series. And, then they did it again, in 2015. And, the Mets at least have given me those things. Whereas the Jets, I was born probably, I think, 10, 11 months after they won that Super Bowl. So nothing, So I have to say the Jets have the edge, but, not that the Mets have been very kind to us either.
No, yeah, it's tough. I would say Jets, I wasn't alive in 86. I don't really, I like very vaguely remember the Subway Series, but like 2006, like that killed the 2006 Mets not winning a World Series. I think that was like the first thing that really killed me. I'm an Islanders fan too. So, and I was born after the dynasty era. So really all my teams, Jets, Islanders, Mets, all I know is pain, Jeremy.
Yeah.
It's not an easy ride for us over here.
It is not. It is not.
All right. So let's get into our main topic of the day. It seems like there's mixed reviews going around on Aaron Glenn right now. You have one side of the fan base that is trying to remain positive with Aaron Glenn and realizing that it's only 3 games into his first year as a head coach. And then there's another section of the fan base that is, pretty upset with the team's performance and Aaron Glenn's performance through the first 3 games. And specifically some of the reactions from Aaron Glenn in this game against Tampa, whether it be the celebration on the sideline or the 1-second video of him clapping after the game.
Yeah, man. The negativity and the anger over Aaron Glenn clapping after the game, I think is the most, and this is my opinion, I just think it's the most overblown, exaggerated anger that I've, as much as anything as a fan base that we've ever done. Like, I just don't understand. Like, that's just transferring. That's counter transfer. We call that, like, of anger, right? I need something to be angry about. I'm going to be angry at the coach for clapping after the game. It's so out of context. Like, all of this reaction is so out of context. He wasn't clapping for a moral victory because he wasn't clapping that he was happy we lost the game. People are acting like he's a criminal. He's trying to change the culture. He's trying to be positive, because when Salah would walk off the field slumped over, we bitched about that. Like, look at him. He's no emotion. He doesn't do anything, and then the same thing with Gase and every coach we've ever had that we're mad at when we're losing. I think what he was trying to do is he's trying to keep the team alive. He doesn't want them to fall into this bottomless pit of hopelessness where they just give up and lose every game. So he's trying to build. He's saying, come on, we can do this. We can get a win. And he's right. We could have very easily won both those, the opener and that game. We very easily could be 2-1. And you have to remember, at the end of the day, we played very, very crappy. There was no question that was a horrible game for most of the game. But we were in Tampa playing against a playoff team, right? A team with like Super Bowl pedigree still left over a little bit in their team. But you're talking about a solid playoff team We're in their stadium, and as ugly as it was, we almost came away with the win. And I know it's almost, and I know it's not good enough, but there's something to build on here. And I know that in both the Pittsburgh game and both in the Tampa game, it would have it felt like it used to go very differently than that we would give up. Like the Gibson turnover in Pittsburgh and that touchdown that followed the Gibson turnover. In the old days, it was over. There was no life after that.
That's right.
Right. And then, so there is something that's a little different. I still believe that. But we have a big problem on this team. Fundamentally, the defense is terrible right now. I don't think it's only about the players. I think that a lot of this has to do with scheme, and we got to look at the defensive coordinator at Wilkes, because I think that even though we have some holes in this defense, the talent is too good for what we're seeing.
It definitely is. And I'm disappointed in the defense. And I don't think either Jeremy or I are saying that, you can't be disappointed with some of the things that have happened through the first 3 games. Of course you can be disappointed. It's frustrating, that they had fourth quarter leads twice and lost both of those times. To me, the point that I've been trying to bring up all week is it's more about how this Jets team finishes the season than how they start the year. Like if they are still giving up 30 points a game in week 17 and still blowing any fourth quarter lead that they get and can't close out a game, then yeah, like we should be very concerned about Aaron Glenn going forward. But it's 3 games in. It's 3 of their tougher games on the schedule. Pittsburgh was a playoff team last year. Buffalo was a playoff team last year. The Bucs were a playoff team last year. Now you have, Miami, and we'll get into that game in the second half and kind of just the upcoming schedule after that in the second half of this episode. But theoretically, it should open up for you. And I think Hennessy honestly brings up a really good point here. And thank you for the super chat. Says people have 15 years of anger and are putting it on AG. Isn't that what it feels like?
100%. 100%. Everybody keeps saying, we always do this. We can't develop quarterbacks. We did, when you change GMs and you change coaches and you change the entire freaking thing except for the owner, when you no longer can put on them or should put on them things from the past. It has nothing to do with them. Right. So, yeah, I that's what I was talking about when I talked about transfers of anger. We're taking this frustration, all this trauma we've had, all this losing, all this shit over and over again, all this disappointment for this team that we thought last year or 2 years ago, for the last 2 years, was going to be a contender. And then to have it slammed in our face and have to swallow 5 wins, there's a lot of anger there. And I think we're 3 games in and people want this guy's head. He's a terrible coach and he's this and that, and he's that, and they're comparing him to Gase, and, and it's like, it's 3 games in, and I don't care that the losing is the same. I get it. I feel it with you. I'm with everybody. It's not like I don't feel it too. I'm not oblivious. I understand we've lost the 3 games, but it doesn't feel the same as far as it just doesn't feel the same, like in the sense that it's not the same old Jets, because we didn't lay down and just die. Like they fought, right? We got issues. There are things that need to be fixed. But it feels like we have a coach and a football team that's trying to turn this around.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And it's going to take more than 3 games to do it, right? And there's a lot of stink on this team from years and years and years of losing, unfortunately. And it would to me, it would feel disingenuous if Aaron Glenn after that game is hanging his head and goes up to the podium and it's the woe is me, we stink attitude. I'd be more concerned if we got that rather than him, clapping, going off. And plus, we don't know what he was clapping at, number one. There was a theory going around that he was going up to Will McDonald because he almost blocked the kick again on the game-winning kick as time expired, and he was like clapping like you almost got that kind of a thing. And it just feels like such displaced frustration and anger right now. Yeah. If again, week 17, week 18, the Jets have these same issues at the end of the year, and it's the same story over and over and over and over again, fine, but you're not even to the bye week yet. You're 3 games into the season against 3 of your tougher opponents out of the gate.
Yeah. I do want to shout out Well, thank you, Hennessy, for the super chat on behalf of O'Leary. I told you all those proceeds go to his wedding, so we appreciate that. But I wanted to shout out New York Sports Wicker Media, Adam, who's here today. Always good to see him when he has the chance to be here. Dano from Danger Zone is here. I wanted to shout that out. And I also wanted to thank Andrew Grzanka, who made me. You saw those necklaces at the game during the opener?
Yeah.
He made one for me, and he's telling me he shipped it and it's on the way. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I wanted to thank him. Yeah.
I got mine hanging up on my window over on that side. So it's in my studio. It's awesome. He did a really, really good job. Yeah, let's pull that up. Grzanka's here saying, Jeremy, your necklace is on its way to you. Tremendous work, Andrew. We really appreciate it. It was awesome. And another, right after the comment that we had from Hennessy, Wicker Media says, when you win, everything bad gets overlooked. When you lose, everything bad gets accentuated.
Yeah.
Like there's such a microscope on him because fans are looking for someone to blame for why they keep losing. And I feel like that's the easy cop out to just go, oh, this coach isn't any good. Yeah. Well, I don't know that the team also isn't very good. My question back to a lot of people who are, adamantly upset right now is, what did you expect the Jets record to be through their first 3 games? I think best case scenario, even the most optimistic Jet fans were saying 1-2. So they're 1 game off of where you thought they would be at worst right now.
Right. And we were competitive in 2 of them. We didn't play well in the 3rd game. I know those holes, but we could have won either game 1 or game 3 very easily, right? Game 3, even if they would have helped us by just making a mistake and fumbling the ball or something in the at the end there, right? Or missing the field goal, like we'd get another block, or if they would have missed the 54-yard field goal that they did make during that game. And then the Steeler game, my God, the guy kicked a 60-yard field goal. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, most of the years of my life, you didn't even go for 60-yard field goals. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like we could have won so easily, like either of those 2 games. So we're in this, if we could beat Miami and then win 1 out of the next 2 games and we're like 2-5 or something, or if we eventually are 3-5, even win 2 more games in the next 5 games, which could be done, or 3 games out of the next 5 and be 3-5, then all of a sudden we're on track to what we were hoping for, 7 to 8 game win season.
100%. And Jenner G chimes in. She says, we are rebuilding this ish and our fan base has no patience. That's the tough part. And I understand, and I'm trying to empathize with the frustration of being in the midst of a 15-year playoff drought. Obviously that's unacceptable. I think we have to, as a fan base, do a better job of realizing what this year was supposed to be. I went into this as a year of evaluation. I think Aaron Glenn is trying to decide, who am I sticking with? Who am I building with? What do we need to get better at? And at the same time, I was hoping for improvement off of a 5-win year, but I was thinking like a 7-win season, which is still 7-10 in a losing record and would mean that they don't make the playoffs again. But not all 7-10 seasons are built the same. Like, again, if they started 0-3, they have 14 games left. If they go 7-7 over their final 14 games and are sitting at 7-10, to me, that's something to build off of going into 2026.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is growth, improvement. I'd like to see the defense kind of fix itself a little bit, and obviously start holding teams to under 20 points. I'd like to see our offensive line become more consistent. I don't want it to be, well, once in a while they have a good game. No, we need them to start finding an identity, and part of having an identity is not a few times, like the 1 game. They need to consistently come out and play really well as a unit. So we have a running game. Our quarterback has time in the pocket. Like, we need to see that, right? Like, we know the wide receivers room is broken after Garrett. We know that. We know that Mason Taylor is developing and Jeremy Ruckert is at best going to be a role, tight end 2 type player. We know that these are things that have to grow and improve. But the things that we have to look for is we need our offensive line to be what they're capable of being. We invested a ton in this line. So we need to see that start to happen. So we know moving forward after this season, at least we have that box checked, right? That we have a good offensive line, that we have the ability to stop the run. Like our secondary comes together, whether it's AZ Thomas and Sauce, but like they start playing better. Like we got to be able to go into next year knowing what we have.
Without a doubt. Jonathan chimes in, and I've seen this a few times, not only from Jonathan in the chat here today, but just this feels like kind of a consensus right now too. He says, I blame Muji. 2026 will tell a lot for the draft and free agency. You have 60 million in cap space next year. Where are you with, we spent a lot of time in the first 20 minutes talking about Aaron Glenn, but where are you with Darren Muji with what he's done so far with this team?
I can't know. Like, I can't judge him. It's just way too soon. I mean, I know that he's done some good things. He's done some things that are questionable, but I think that, like, when you talk about Gibson still being on the roster, when you talk about, what's going on with Clemens, this is coaching. Like, I think, this is, I think, more Aaron Glenn. Like, so I'm more concerned about Aaron Glenn on the personnel side. I'm undecided. We don't know what's going to happen with Arian Smith. We don't, Molokai, like what if Molokai becomes this really good safety, right? Very solid safety that we got in the 5th round. And what if Arian Smith becomes a really good, he doesn't have to be a star, but what if he becomes this really good role player that opens up the backside of the defense and makes big plays sometimes? And we got him in the 5th round. Like, and then AZ Thomas is playing well so far, and we knew we loved him as a prospect out of college. So what if he's the future, cornerback next to Sauce, and he becomes a really good cornerback, and Membu looks real. So I mean, there's still hope that Moogs didn't have a terrible draft like people are saying. I think again, it's 0-3 is our sample, and this is what we're yelling and screaming about. And I always knew that it was going to take more than one offseason to fix this team.
Yeah. Definitely. And with Muji, I think it's a mixed bag, which is expected for a first offseason, right? Like some things that he did well. I thought, Membu looks awesome through the first 3 games. That looks really, really good. I thought it was good self-awareness to realize the interior defensive line wasn't going to be good enough. And I thought he made 2 really shrewd trades for both Briggs and Phillips. And I think both have looked really good so far. I am a little bit concerned with day 3 of the draft right now. And the biggest reason for it is not necessarily Malachi Moore. I think he could end up being okay. The 2 guys they took from Miami, Kiko Mawingoa and Tyler Barron, don't really look like rosterable NFL players. And, it is only 3 games into their rookie season. That could obviously change. But I didn't love their process on day 3. And right now it doesn't look like the Jets knew better than the consensus on some of those guys with Maui Goa, Tyler Barron, Arian Smith. Who's it? Io Maynor and Horton on Seattle. Day 3 wide receivers both look pretty productive so far.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Arian Smith, I'm not giving up on at all, though. Like, I really don't think that we have had quarterback play or overall offensive play that really would even give him the chance. Like, we don't know, it's way too soon on wide receiver, like, for that position. And I mean, we got to give that time. But those other guys, I mean, the only guy we didn't draft in those rounds that I knew about, and I spent a lot of time, went to the Senior Bowl, the only guy I have regret about that I said we could have grabbed, that I'll complain about openly because they could have taken him, is Jackson Haas. Yeah. Right. I was all over him. Yep. Tom C was all over him. We loved him. I made it a point that we had to interview him at the Senior Bowl. I dragged Tom C. I said, there he is. And I literally said, didn't chase anybody else for an interview until Jackson Haas broke free. And we were able to, I pushed my way through and got to him because I love this kid. And Tom C pointed him out to me one day, and I watched tons of film on him. And I said, oh my God, this guy's a beast. And I got laughed at because everybody looks at box scores and they said, this guy has no receptions, no yards. What are you talking about? And I said, well, tight end, you have 2 responsibilities. It's not just being a receiver, it's being a blocker. And I said, this guy would complement any pick as a second tight end. And you said it too. You did it in your mocks too. We all did it, to draft him as a blocking tight end, to have that role. And he is, I mean, anybody, if you're not following it, he's like making Buffalo a better team. He's a big impact on their running game. He's been amazing. He's a beast. We could have had him. And that's my one guy that I had. But honestly, when we took those guys from Miami, other than Jackson Hawes, I really didn't have anyone. I didn't really know who I wanted, like it's not like I was screaming for anybody else at that point.
Yeah, no, that's a good call out too. And Hawes has looked really impressive, even catching the ball for Buffalo. Has made a couple plays as a pass catcher, but man, what he does in the run game, they're already using their 3 tight ends to perfection. They look like a juggernaut right now in the AFC. Another good question from Johnny Boy here says, is it Aaron Glenn or more of the coordinators? Talking about Wilks as the example. Steve Wilks has kind of been catching a lot of flack for how the defenses looked. What do you think the Jets have to do defensively to get right?
They have to fix if you're going to play zone, they have to fix the communication in the defensive backfield, because there's, way too much space, just guys wide open. And then there's also, there's over pursuing the football. So they really have to, that's coaching. Like you really have to coach them on how to hold their lanes and how to pursue. There was one play that just shows the whole thing. It's like I told Greenbean, we need to get a clip of that play where there was like eight Jets like chasing the screen. The guy, on the screen, and the guy just went around it. It was like you could play the music of the Bad News Bears on that play. Right. It was a joke. It was ridiculous.
That's little league stuff when everyone just runs to the ball carrier.
It was complete over pursuit. It was just like, oh my God, like the other coordinators probably said, oh my God, if we can get them to do that every play, let's do some misdirection and we could just eat these guys alive. And it was embarrassing, and that's coaching. So the pressure is on Wilks right now.
There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on Steve Wilks. If it continues this way, I don't know if we're gonna get Aaron Glenn to like completely take over and call the plays defensively, but I think we might see more of his philosophy involved in their game plans. He's more of a man guy where Steve Wilks is more of a zone guy. So that would be an area that maybe we see a bit of a difference with. And, even the trade that they made yesterday for Brownlee, maybe this is them realizing like, hey, Brandon Stevens isn't cutting it right now, and we need more guys in here who we think could be physical and actually cover a little bit. And they might make some changes on the back end of this defense.
Yeah, it looks like they're desperately trying to do that. I keep hearing people say that they're going to make Stevens a safety. I actually think it might be more Michael Carter goes back to safety than Stevens, and that's why they want this new kid Jarvis to take over as the or Brownlee to take over as the slot corner.
Yeah, I like that. I like that comparison a lot. I think it's definitely an appropriate one because Carter played at Duke, right? He played safety initially there, and the Jets kind of converted him to a slot corner, or that's what he was drafted as, was a safety. That's what they announced it as.
Right, and they were using him early. They were talking about like his best play even this year is like the in the box, like he's been like a linebacker, like in those plays where he's in there and they run. He's actually been pretty good with tackling and being, at moments. We were at the game where that's as tough a game as he had in coverage, he was actually really good as like a linebacker, in the running play on those downs. And like, I like to see him play safety along Cisco and have him just play strong, safety in the box, strong safety, who can then who does have the ability to cover tight ends, because we've seen him succeed at that level. It wouldn't be that nuts of a concept.
No, it really wouldn't. Guys, we're going to get into more of your comments. We also want to get into this Monday night game coming up against the Dolphins and why it very well should be billed as a must-win game for the Jets. But we are brought to you by Sleeper today. Think you know football? Then try to turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Just download the Sleeper app and pick more or less on your favorite players with more stats than any other daily fantasy app. Just choose 2 or more players. From pregame or even during the game, you could do one. Pick more or less from the predicted stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money if your picks win. If you use my promo code O'Leary, you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's get into this now, Jeremy, a little bit. Miami, 0-3 Jets, 0-3 Dolphins, Monday Night Football, doubleheader. I'm sure the nation is real excited to watch two 0-3 teams go at it. But I think for both the Jets and from the Dolphins perspective too, but we, Jet show, we'll look at it through the Jets lens. This to me is a must-win game. And I know that seems so hard to say in September with there'd be 13 games after this one coming up, but staring 0-4 in the face after a winless September, that feels really hard to come back from.
I think you lose the team. I think you do. I don't think that, I think, like I said it earlier, I think Aaron Glenn was, clapping. He's trying to keep them. He's trying to stop them from sliding. There's no stopping that. If they lose to Miami, we could be looking at 1-2 wins. Like it could be that ugly for sure. And of course we'll be the type of team, and I'm never for tanking. I'm not saying that, but those wins will come at times where it's like feels completely meaningless, and it'll be like just enough to get us out of a slot, in the draft or something. I don't even want to talk about that, but it feels like a must win. I don't see how we could rebound from 0-4 and losing to Miami. I just don't see how we can rebound from that.
No, and it's definitely a game that I think the Jets can win, but I don't think this is going to be like some easy game here on Monday night against a team that, it looks like their coach is on his way out. I don't know how much longer Mike McDaniel has left, and maybe if he drops to 0-4 on a national stage, that might be enough for the Dolphins to pull the plug. But one of the strengths of Miami, which we saw a little bit against Buffalo, is their speed that they have on offense, whether it's the running back in A-Chain or their two wide receivers and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Going up against a defense that doesn't really tackle very well in the Jets, and without Quincy Williams, and now, there's some question marks at linebacker and who's going to play in this game, Miami's probably going to be able to put up some points in this one, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, with our defense, we cannot count on winning this, 13-0 or 13-3. It's not, the only way we're going to win this is probably, we have to put up a lot of points. We have to play like we did against Pittsburgh. We're going to have to win this like 34-24 or, something like that. It's hard to really expect us to, to win like a low scoring game. It's going to be very hard to see that. And the only way we're going to stop the Dolphins from putting up 40 points, like our friend that keeps saying in the chat, is if we have time of possession, right? I mean, again, it's the same, if we have the ball for 38 to 40 minutes or 37 to 39, a lot of possession, running the ball, offensive line, grinding, long drives, 8-minute, 9-minute scoring drives. That's the only way. That's how you control the other team from lighting you up, and you can control, and then you got to hope you get that critical turnover at the right time. And that's how it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, for Miami, their defense has allowed 33, 33, and 31 points through their first three games. Offensively, 8 points in week 1 against Indy, 27 in week 2 against New England, a much better performance, and then 21 against Buffalo. They were okay against the Bills. Tua had that bad turnover at the end. This is another thing with the Jets defense. Not only are they struggling and giving up a lot of points, they're not creating turnovers either. They can't fall on a fumble to save their life, and they haven't picked anybody off yet through the first 3 games. Now, you can look at this two ways. Either one, they're due, and Tua has a tendency to turn the ball over, so this might be the game where you see a turnover or two happen. Or you could look at it and go, the Jets can't turn anybody over. They're not going to even be able to take advantage of Tua throwing one their way because they're not going to catch it anyway.
Yeah. And what people got to realize also, if we stop shooting ourselves in the foot, right? I mean, if we could just play a clean game, without a 3rd and long where we give them a new set of downs, we stop making those kind of mistakes, or just the big plays that we've been giving up. If we could just clean it up, there's a lot of room for this team to succeed. There really is.
Yeah, there absolutely is. NY Sports Wicker Media chimes in on Miami's defense and says it's easy to run on Miami, which is is true. They're allowing 4.5 yards per attempt on the ground, 4 rushing touchdowns through 3 games against, and 435 yards. So not a math guy, but let's do 435 divided by 3. I'll give you the yards per game. 145 yards on the ground per game. That's should be an opportunity, especially if Justin Fields is back this week, that you hope the Jets can finally take advantage of.
Right, because don't forget, we're still potentially a good running team. We really are. You saw it against the Steelers. You saw it the second half against Tampa. We have the capability of being really good. Our guards and our center actually played well, even though we didn't feel like they did. They did. You know, when you go back, PFF goes back and they graded them, and you look at the grades, Tippmann had a good game. And you know, Simpson, it wasn't as bad as we thought. You know, people pointed out a couple of bad plays, but overall, he did his job on a lot of other plays, and he had a very good second half. As a matter of fact, all of our interior offensive line had a really good second half. Membo is playing okay. Give him time. He's a rookie, and he's actually, he's doing okay. Fashano's the concern, but it's only 3 games in, so I'm not going to sit here and have a heart attack over a bad couple of games for Fashano either. So, this is our strength. We might be able to come into this game on Monday night, and we might be able to run the ball up and down the field and really have our way with them. It's very possible. I'm not guaranteeing it because you got to know which team is going to show up. But if the guys from the opener show up that we watched show up, we're going to eat them alive because they're easier than Pittsburgh. We're going to just have, we're going to be running up and down the field on them, scoring and eating up lots of clock. There's a path to victory here.
Without a doubt. And they ran for 182 yards in week 1, and that's carrying them right now. Against Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. Against Pittsburgh.
I'm adding that against Pittsburgh.
Against Pittsburgh.
A real defense.
And 100 against Buffalo, 99 against Tampa Bay. Even with the 2 down games, right? You started 182, you come down to 199 over the next 2. They're still top 10. They're 9th in attempts, 9th in yards, and 9th in rushing touchdowns right now. So they're averaging 4.6 yards per rush, which is above average. That's good. You'll take that. And you got to hope, like you were saying, that it's closer to how it looked against Pittsburgh. And, not for nothing, but the Bills, yes, they have their problems defensively. And I was wrong with, how their run defense looked in week 1. I thought it would carry over to week 2. But the Jets just went up against 2 really good defensive-minded coaches in Sean McDermott and Todd Bowles, who were able to take away the Jets' running game. I don't know if Miami's going to be able to do that same thing.
Yeah. I mean, we played. It's amazing those numbers that you read off, considering we had a six quarters of misery of terrible play, right? The 4 quarters against Buffalo and the first half against Tampa. We had 6 consecutive quarters, in a 3-game season, and yet we're still top 10 in running, like in 4.6 average, in spite of the fact that we had 6 quarters where we couldn't do a thing. You have to recognize it's really about who's going to show up. Is it going to be the 6 quarters of football that represents the 4 quarters against Pittsburgh and the 2 quarters in the second half against Tampa? Or is it going to be the team that, the 4 quarters against Buffalo and the first 2 quarters against Tampa? Like, which offensive line are we going to get? Which running game are we going to get against Miami? That's really the question. Not guaranteeing anything, but saying that if you got to at least see, if you're a Jet fan and you're being reasonable, you have to at least see the path of how it could happen. Like if you said, well, how are we going to beat Miami? How would this work? You have to be able to see that if we could put 4 quarters together that we put against, that we've done this season already of just really good offensive line play, that we could win this game.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a winnable game. At the same time, while I'm saying that, with how they played at the same time, like you can't be shocked if they lost to Miami. I'd be very disappointed, but I don't think anyone could say they'd be shocked if they lost to this Dolphins team. But it is an opportunity for them to show, hey, which is it? Is it that we've went against 3 tough opponents and Our offense didn't look good against a Super Bowl contender and a perennial divisional winner. And, you get back to normal against teams like Miami, Dallas, Carolina, and Cincinnati coming up on their schedule. I really hope that's the case. I think there's a chance that it could be the case, but it really starts this week before we even get into, the upcoming schedule after this Miami game. You can't look too far ahead because none of this matters if you're 0-4, right? Like that feels like that's the final nail in the coffin here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, and again, I see another stupid comment like 0-3, same old Jets. It's so dumb and it's so lazy. It's just the laziest, dumbest take in the world. I'm sorry. It's just stupid. I hope he's being sarcastic and joking because it's so stupid. It's not even close to the same old Jets, and you just don't understand football if you think it is. It is the same old Jets in one regard, and that's the losing.
And that they
If
lost.
that's how you mean it, then fine. But if you're saying it's the same kind of losing and it's the same old thing, it's just stupid. It's just not. It's not. The same old Jets would have laid down after that Gibson turnover and touchdown. We would not have come back. It would not have taken a 60-yard field goal to beat us if we were the same old Jets. If it was the same old Jets, Tampa would have rolled on us and we would have ended up losing by 25 points. It is not the same old Jets. Unfortunately, right now the results are the same. But we're losing and we're 0-3 and it sucks and we're the same in that regard, but it's not the same. And it does not feel the same.
No, I think the Tampa game had all the makings of rolling into like that Arizona game from last year. I think there were a lot of times last season where they were down early and they just like, that was it. They didn't have any fight in them. It feels, that to me feels a little bit different, which is good, but you eventually have to get wins on the board. And
yeah, I mean,
now is an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, this team, unfortunately, I mean, in this case, this is the truth. We don't know how to win. Like in that opener, we watched it. We were the better team. We were easily the better team. We outplayed Pittsburgh. We watched it. We cheered the whole game. There were some holes, some big plays. The defense came up. We saw problems with the defense, no question, but we were the better team in every category. We were the better team and we found a way to lose and they found a way to win the 60-yard field goal. I can't say that enough, but we found a way to lose. Right. And in spite of that turnover and that touchdown, which sucked the energy out of that stadium, this team found a way to come back and recover from that and not fall apart. And when we thought we were going to fall apart, we came back and answered with a long touchdown drive. It was beautiful. And it was unlike any Jets that I've experienced in a really long time. Right. It felt nothing like the Jets from the past bunch of years, the way we came back and did that. So we just need to learn how to win. Right. And we watched this, this Aaron Glenn just came from Detroit. And I know it's not Detroit. It doesn't mean I'm saying we're Detroit. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. But what you could learn from Detroit is to have some freaking patience. And I know nobody wants to because we've sucked for 15 years. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to have patience because these guys haven't lost for 15 years. And they can't work miracles. They're taking over an organization that doesn't know how to win, that hasn't won in 15 years. It might take a year or two before you start to see the wins we want to see happen. And that's just the sad facts. It's not, it sucks. Nobody likes it. But if you thought they were going to come here and magically convert us into a winner, I'm sorry. That wasn't what I expected. And I think most of the fan base didn't truly expect that.
Absolutely. I wanted to pull up. Oh, this is not the right thing. We got to remove this.
Me again.
Here we go. The Jets' upcoming schedule. So they have Miami on the road, their second game in a row in Florida. And then they play Dallas at home, Denver in London, Carolina at home, and a Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati before the bye week. And even out of the bye, they have the Cleveland Browns. So they're 0-3 right now. But what I look at with this next bit of slate of schedule, I think Denver is the only game on here where I'm saying I don't think they have a good chance against the Denver Broncos. I just think it's a bad matchup for them with that defense. This is a stretch where at worst 3-3 for me is accepted. If they're worse than 3-3, I would be very disappointed in over this next 6-game stretch.
Yeah, I see. The Dallas and Broncos as being the challenging games. Obviously, I think we can get into a shootout with Dallas, so it's a toss up. As far as shootout, I mean scoring, just lots of scoring. I think we could beat Miami. I think we could beat Carolina. I think we could beat Cincinnati. I could see this. I could see us 3-5 at the bye week. I could see us going 2-2 for the 4 games after that and being like 5-7, and then eventually 6-8, and then 7-8 because of New Orleans. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule and I'm just seeing a team that could win 7 to 8 games with the Jets. Still, if we beat Miami, I think that's why I think it's such a must win. I think if we lose to Miami, I don't see, I think it might really spiral. But if we could just beat Miami and get back on track and just make some improvements on the defense, I could see us getting to that 7-8 win level. I still see it. I'm not giving up on that. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not giving up on it. I'm still rooting for it. So,
yeah, I'm not giving up on it either. And Thomas chimes in and says, I'm sorry, you guys got to chill with the talk of winning 7 games.
If we beat Miami, why do we have to chill on that? Look at the schedule. Tell me these aren't games that we might be able to win.
And correct. They could win any of these and they could lose any of these. The games left that I don't think the Jets have a good chance in is Denver, Baltimore, and that's it. Everything else is a toss-up. And I'm not saying that they're going to, they're only going to lose 2 more games on the rest of their season, go 12-5. That's not what I'm saying here. But there should be games that you steal, and there's probably going to be games that you're disappointed they lose in.
Look, and I want to say, if I was a betting man and you told me, Jeremy, $1,000, they're going to win 5 or 6 games this year or 7 or 8 games this year, I'm taking the 5 or 6. Like, I don't want people I'm not predicting that we're going to win 7 to 8 games. I'm saying I see how it could happen, though. If we start playing like the team that we were the second half against Tampa or the team that played against Pittsburgh, if we find our way to be that team most of the time, consistently, I see how we can get to 7 to 8 wins. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying I would bet on it. I'm simply saying that it could happen. Everybody, the people that are sitting here saying 2 to 3 teams, this, 2 to 3 wins, this team sucks. They suck. They're terrible, terrible coaching. You're only looking at the negative. You're failing to look at the fact that there's been some good football also at the same time. And there's been some sparks of hope.
It just takes one to get the monkey off their back and the pressure off. And, I think Glenn thought it was coming after the blocked field goal that was returned for a touchdown. And they just have to, buy in and believe after they get one, right? One can turn your season around, and not turn it around to the point that, none of us are on here saying they're going to win, 9 or 10 games and be a playoff team or be a wild card team. But I think there's still room for this season to be salvaged even at an 0-3 start.
Yeah, I just don't think we could go 0-4. I think there's a big psychological thing there, because this time it's like, okay, Pittsburgh opening day could have won, the team that's made the playoff, or has a winning record every year for 17 years, no matter how good or bad they are, that they find ways, they know how to win games because they have that kind of coach. Then you have the Bills. Come on, Super Bowl contender, probably winning the AFC, right? We're not ready for that yet. We knew we weren't at their level, right? And then you have Tampa. You got a good playoff team. We went to Tampa and we found a way to stay in the game. So I just think that losing against Miami would be a whole different level to those losses. Like, if they lose against Miami, I think it really just takes the wind out of the team. Like, it's going to be hard. It's like we're falling into that, those Adam Gase days of having one of those kind of years. I agree with everyone. But if we win that game, we could turn it around. It's about learning how to win. We can get some confidence, build on that. And again, I'm not saying we're going to do it. I think it's more likely 5 or 6, but it's not impossible that we can get to that 7 win mark, possibly even 8 if we get hot.
Yeah, Dengirth is way off from us. He's saying 5 to 7 wins as a potential ceiling is an awful take. Ceiling is 12 wins, with the easiest schedule only helped by the fact that we go against the Bengals without Burrow.
Yeah, but I think we just got to be realistic that we don't know how to win. Look, I would love it I would love it if we just start beating all those teams. I would love it, but I'm trying to be realistic. How many times have we done that even in the last 4 years? We look at the schedule. We're going to win that game. We're going to win. And then we don't. And then we don't. So I'm being realistic. I'm saying that we're not good enough to make any of these guaranteed wins. We're good enough to make these 50-50 toss-ups. That's the best we're going to get, 50-50 toss-ups. There's no team on this schedule that we're just going to easily say that we know we're just going to beat. Not the way we're playing. Not unless something changes.
There's no games on the schedule that you're going, oh, that's a team they're going to beat by 25. No, right. They could win outside of the games that I said that I feel that they don't. And I should have added Buffalo at the end in that. So Denver, Baltimore, and Buffalo at the end. I know Denver hasn't played well. I just don't like the defensive matchup for the Jets. That's all.
You figure we got to beat Carolina, New Orleans, one against Miami, one against New England, like 4 wins, right? Like that are just there. Like you'd hope that we could at least establish that and then look at the other games and say how many of those can we steal.
Yeah. From that point, how many additional ones are you getting? I think that's the point that I wanted to make. I think you said it a lot more eloquently than I did. I was kind of talking myself in a circle there.
Yeah. I mean, the Panthers look good last week, so now we have to worry about that.
I don't know how much I buy that, though, honestly. They won, and they have a better record than the Jets right now. So I guess you gotta take that as a positive. But I didn't think they looked good against Jacksonville. They lost against Arizona. They beat the shit out of the Falcons, but I don't know. They haven't really impressed me at all. I think they've been very up and down, very streaky.
Yeah, no, I mean, I again, like if we're sitting here saying that we can't beat Carolina, we're worried about them, then we may as well just wave the white flag now. If we don't even have the right to consider that a winnable game
at home too, right? Like this isn't going to Atlanta, and the game they won 30-0 was at home for Carolina against the Atlanta Falcons. This isn't, the Jets playing on the road on a short week. You're at home. It's a 1:00 game in your building. Win the game. I'm not saying you're going to win 40-0, but win the game.
Right. I mean, I think that we just have to, again, I just think we're being so overly negative if we can't see how we could beat Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina. Like if we're saying that you can't see us beating those teams, like I think you're really ignoring we just we came so close to winning in Tampa. And they're nothing like those teams. They're much better. And Pittsburgh, I know they're not great, but they're much better than those 3 teams. And it was opening week, and Aaron Rodgers was playing for his life. Like you'll see, he's not going to have a game even close to that the rest of the year, probably. Like, right? That was like he put his whole life into that game to get revenge against us. I mean, and it took a 60-yard field goal to actually get it done. And it took Gibson giving them the football. So, I mean, you're forgetting the good, I think. Like we were able to somehow stay in it and fight our way back against Tampa. We did, like we came so like it's not like we're at this crazy low level and that we're not competitive. So I don't know why people give us a chance to play some of these really bad teams and let's see if we're at their level or if we're really above them and we just had a tough first few games.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. And I think it also depends on too, what version of Justin Fields are we getting? Are you getting week 2 Justin Fields? Are you getting week 1 Justin Fields? Somewhere in between? Where are you with him? I think that's what we'll close on this week. I think he makes his return this against the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. I'd be surprised if he misses a second straight game with the concussion, but right. Where are you with Fields?
Look, I think that this is the problem that, what we've seen in those first 2 games from Fields has been the problem with his whole career. Right. And this is why he has so many people that love him and so many people that hate him, because it depends if you're the kind of person that looks at his good games and says, oh my God, look what this guy could do. Or if you're someone who focuses on his bad games. His problem is he's inconsistent. Right. And it's like, and we always knew if this guy could put it together and just be the good Justin Fields week after week after week, I'm not saying he'll be a top 5 quarterback, but he could be a really good quarterback and a quarterback you can win with. The problem is, and the question is, can he be consistent and then not every, half the time show up and be completely, just dysfunctional? Like he just can't do it. And it's really confusing how you could go from 1 week, that week we saw, and then be so bad the next week. It's like it's hard. It's got to be up here, right, in his head.
It's definitely the mental side, unfortunately, for him. And that's the tough part. And arguably the toughest part is to get him out of that mindset. I think this is a good bounce back spot for him. It's a longer week. They play on Monday night, so they get the extra day of prep. He's going up against a defense that's really struggled. They've allowed the most points in the league, 3 straight games allowing 30+ points. It's not like he's coming back and he's got to play Denver, or it's not like he's coming back and has to, deal with the Todd Bowles blitz against Tampa Bay. Of the games on their schedule, the next 2 are against, 2 pretty crappy defenses. The Jets defense stinks too, but for Fields coming back and having a launching point for the second half of his season, either against Miami or Dallas, I don't think you could really pick a better spot for him to come back.
If we can control the line of scrimmage on the offense and move the ball and eat the clock and have our way with those 2 defenses, it puts us in the game, regardless of how bad our defense is. Because if our defense is just as bad, but we do that, what I just said, then you're talking about shootout. You're talking about toss-up game. Like where's the coin gonna fall? That's the situation we put up. But I'm not giving up hope that our defense can improve from what we've seen. Like, I'm not totally throwing that out. Remember, without the, both those games would have been under 30 points without the offense helping them out. Remember, there was a pick 6 last week, right? You take away that, it's 22 points. The problem is they walked down the field on that last drive. That's the problem. But overall, it's 22 points we're talking about, not 29, right? One was a pick 6. We had the pick 6. And then against Pittsburgh, you had the Xavier Gibson. You take away that fumble, maybe that puts them under 30 at least. So it's not as disgusting as it looks. It's bad, but it might not be as bad as we think when you can make some considerations.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that'll do it for us on this episode. Thanks for hanging out with us for another Wednesday here on the channel. We'll be back next Wednesday, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. So before you head out, leave a like on the channel. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it whenever we go live here. But for Jeremy, I'm Matt O'Leary, and we'll catch you next time.